Welcome to our next episode of One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. And as you can see, there is going to be no Cub this week. So do not tell me Ferguson Jenkins. We all know it's Fergie Jenkins. Okay, there's no Cub this week. We're taking the week off. I do want you to make sure that you like us on Facebook. Contact us through onecard1cup1beer@gmail.com. You can support our efforts through Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer. And for as little as $3 a month, you can support our efforts and allow us. Look at us. We are blingless. Is bling still a word? I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not cool enough to know that.
I'm old and white. Suck. So
I never had bling. Never had bling.
Update on Guess the Cubby. Mike Marianello guessed the Cubby last week, who was Doug Capilla. Very obscure, very good job, Mark.
I didn't know.
Who now has 6 tallies. Tom Miche has 2. Kuderlev has 1, and Mike Buchanan has 1. And remember, you are trying to accumulate tallies until the end of spring training so you can have a prize package that includes some official One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer gear and 2 tickets to a game either in Wrigley or at Busch. And I do want to remind you, we do not provide housing and transportation. So
that's right.
So you can tell me you want to go to San Diego to a game. If I can find the tickets within our budget, I'll give you the tickets and you find your way there. Do all that crap. So, and also, if you want to be a contestant on one of our trivia contests, or if you want to be a guest on a panel, if you have something interesting, baseball related topic that you are educated on, like our guest Brent Kohlenberger is going to have in a little bit, drop us an email, DM, or comment, or just talk to us some way. Say, hey, I'd really like to do your show, because we like getting guests. But it's really cool, especially for the panels, when we have people who are actually fans of the show to get on the panel and show us all the information that you know. So, JJ, how was your week?
I always say the same thing, fantastic, but it was a good week. Vince, last week we were talking about an ice storm. Today we're talking about 50 degrees, and it's here at the end of January. What are you doing? You ain't barbecuing yet, are you?
No.
Yeah, we're just making it through it. We got a week off from football next weekend, this coming, and then the Super Bowl. And to me, that's fine. But 3 days later, baseball starts. The pitchers and catchers. And Vince, I always, I know this kind of sounds crazy, but when I go to the grocery store and get groceries, if the outdated date on the milk is past spring training starts, I get excited. I'm like, yeah. And my wife, she has to put up with me. So she'll eventually put me in a home. I know that.
Maybe sooner than later.
But it's coming, and I always like watching the local news because they always send somebody down there to cover the team, and you can hear the ball smacking the glove and the crack of the bat, and we're sitting here and it'll probably be about 30 degrees and it's 65 and overcast, and you see the palm trees. And I know the Cardinals, we're down in Florida, but the Cubbies always go to Arizona. Have you ever been down there for spring training?
No, I've only been to Arizona once in my whole life. That was 30 some odd years ago. So been a long time. So
I haven't been out there for baseball. Florida I've been to, and it's pretty cool because you can set your week up and see the Astros one day, go over and see the Tigers. They're in a town called Lakeland, and there's a little church that I always park at when I go see the Tigers play, and all the money goes to their food pantry in the area. It's fantastic.
Nice.
And they sell hot dogs and hamburgers and soda and all that over there for next to nothing compared to the ballpark prices. So they have little picnic tables, get there early. And the Tigers are one of my favorite ballparks to go to. The Mets, the Cardinals. Cardinals and the Marlins play each other like 3 times a week because we share a ballpark down there. But if you get a chance, do it. You go to the ballpark, you never know who you're going to see, what players are playing. Early, they only play a couple innings, but you go in there and they have a big, uh, like a grease pinned lineup, and all the old timers are sitting there and they're all talking about the up and coming players. And um, I know, I think when I saw the Tigers, Verlander pitched a couple innings that day, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, it's a good chance to go
I
down there.
I've been to Florida a few times. My daughter used to live down there. I'm just not a Florida person. It feels like I don't feel like I'm on land. I feel like I'm in a sandbar surrounded by ocean. That,
You're right, yeah.
and I've been to Cocoa Beach and I've been to Clearwater, so I've been on both sides, and I've been in Orlando and Kissimmee, everywhere in between. And it just that's not my vibe, especially riding, doing the tour of Cape Canaveral.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever done that?
No, no, I've been by there, but I've never
Oh
done
my
the
gosh,
tour.
we must have passed 20 alligators on the streets. I'm like, if this bus breaks down, that's what they're waiting for. A bunch of tourists to break down on the bus, and they're going to eat us up like popcorn because that's how alligators think.
Well,
So,
that's a bad equation there. Alligators and old retirees. That's not
yeah,
a good
yeah,
chance of survival there.
yeah. So I'd much rather go to Arizona. In fact, I my dream's always been to retire to Flagstaff. Uh, Beautiful temperate climate there. You go south, you're in the desert. You can go to Sedona, Phoenix. You go north, it's the Grand Canyon. It's just kind of a hub there. And I would, because this is the nerdy side of me, the weird side of me. I guess, as my wife would say, it's all the weird side of me. But I would really love to go visit Roswell, New Mexico,
Oh, yes.
just to hang out there with
I've never
them,
been
having
there.
fun with their alien celebrations and stuff. So
They one thing about Arizona that's great is the people who went have told me uh you can go from team to team within 15 miles of each other. They're all close. Florida's everything's all stretched out. You got Jupiter down at the bottom, and then you've got teams on the Gulf side, like you mentioned Clearwater, and then I know the Blue Jays are over there in the Gulf side. And then so you got to travel a lot when you go to Florida, but in Arizona everything's so close. So one day I'll make it there.
yeah, like I've said before, I like going to games, but I would much rather watch a game on a TV. I like the close up. I like the shots. I feel like I can really. It's a different vibe when you're
Mm-hmm.
at the game. You smell the popcorn. You know have the crowd around you. That's a cool vibe too. But you can't tell, was that a breaking ball, was that this, was that that, the kind of stuff that really charged me up. JJ, I don't know if you saw, but former major league manager Jimmy Williams passed away at the age of 80.
Yeah.
He managed Toronto, Boston, and Houston. I didn't realize this. He won nearly 1,000 games as a manager.
I didn't know that either.
um I guess because he always managed like somewhere else. I never thought of him as a long-term manager, but when I started looking at it, wow, he managed a long time, and uh had some good teams in Toronto and Boston and Houston, and racked up a lot of wins, and you just don't hear about him much. I do remember when I think his first managerial job was in Toronto when I was a
I
young
think so.
man, teenager, young man, around that, somewhere around that age. And I remember thinking that Jimmy Williams, the toy cannon, was
Oh,
was the new
yes.
manager. And then
Oh, yeah.
saw a picture of him and said,
They
he
look a
got
little different.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
I,
anyway,
I,
yeah.
I back then we didn't get to see the games, and there was teams we didn't even, except this week in baseball and a few highlights. That's all we ever seen of him. And I only remember him managing the Toronto Blue Jays. That's where I kind of got to know him and his baseball card. But man, I didn't know 1,000 wins. That's fantastic. I had
Yeah.
no clue.
Well, let's go through some transactions. There's about 1 million of them
Yeah. It's
this
starting to pick
past
up.
week.
It's picking up, Vince.
Yeah, but I'm only going to give the ones that have some name recognition or connections. The Angels have been busy all off season, and they have quietly strung together, I will say, an interesting team. Um, they signed right-handed reliever closer Robert Stevenson, left-handed pitcher who has done some closing, Matt Moore, second baseman former Royal Hunter Dozier. They've signed, and they've also signed former Yankee Aaron Hicks. So Otani leaving, I thought maybe they would, kind of go young, but they seem to be signing a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to compete or anything. I'm saying it's an interesting team. And how can I put this and still run for office? I don't think Artie Moreno, who was it last week? Uh, was it Ray or Phil who said that he was not appreciative, was not a
I
fan
think
of run their
I think it was
organization?
Phil. I think Phil was talking about that.
Yeah, it kind of makes no sense. That's why I'm saying it's my nice way of saying this is weird. Uh, the Yankees signed catcher Luis Torrens to a minor league deal. And the only reason why I brought this up is because the Cubs signed him last year. He actually opened the season on the roster as our third catcher. And he just did not, I think, like a month into the season, he only had like 15, 20 at bats. And he's a power hitter and he's got to get some at bats. So we finally just cut him loose because we didn't have anything to do with him. So I'm curious if the Yankees are going to keep him around because he does have some offense going. The Rangers signed first baseman Jared Walsh, third baseman Matt Duffy. They re-signed center fielder Travis Jankowski, who I'm a big fan of. Uh, right-handed pitcher Dave Roberson, who pitched for the Cubs, did some closing for the Cubs. And then they traded center fielder J.P. Martinez to the Braves for right-handed pitcher Tyler Owens. So the Rangers aren't sitting on their hands. They're trying to improve themselves and making a concerted effort to repeat. So that's interesting. Dodgers signed left-handed pitcher TJ McFarland, right-handed pitcher Daniel Hudson, former Cub, and left-handed pitcher James Paxton. So they're trying to load up on the arms. And I guess they're not going to re-sign Kershaw. I was looking at the free agent. Look, he's just sitting there, and you don't hear anything about him. And I know that playoff game was a real tragedy, you know. But the season as a whole, he had a good season.
Yes, he did.
So, hey, Chicago.
Yeah, I was thinking St. Louis too.
Guys.
Yeah. We like to get the older guys. Come on over and hang out with the old timers.
Yeah, there you go. White Sox signed right-handed pitcher John Brebbia. And where do I know that name from?
What am I thinking of? I don't.
Did he pitch for the Cardinals?
Cardinals? Briefly. If he did, it was briefly.
Well, now he's going to the White Sox, so he's sure. Man, he might as well be going into the witness protection programs.
He's on the Tony La Russa trail. I'm going to play for all the teams La Russa managed.
Yeah, you know what? I should do comedy again just for one night to do this joke.
You should.
The baseball fans, you turn state seven as they put you in the witness protection program, or you become a member of the White Sox. It's all just as effective. So I had better jokes than that, people.
He did. He's very
good. Brewers signed first baseman Rhys Hoskins, so that puts to bed the rumors that the Cubs are going to sign him. That also makes the Brewers gives them some thump to replace Rowdy Tellez. It's a bit of a gamble, being Hoskins was out all year long, so you never know. JJ, does this seem weird to you? The Nationals signed Joey Gallo. It-
Well,
When's the last time he had a productive season?
it was always potential when he was younger. And that year, I think it was like 4 years ago with the Rangers, it looked like he was about to take that next step, but he strikes out too much. He's got
Yeah.
great power. I wish him well, but he's over 30 now, and I don't know.
Yeah, and the Nationals aren't going anywhere. I'm like, that just seemed like a strange signing. I do like this. The Diamondbacks signed Jock Peterson. So
Okay.
Tommy Pham
I,
on the market again. Uh, so uh, I guess Peterson's going to get a lot of time in center field. Um, and
he's a
I
good
don't
player.
think he'll play against left-handed pitching, but he's going to get a lot of at-bats for the Diamondbacks. The Royals have been busy all winter long. They signed second baseman Adam Frazier. Then they traded Samad Taylor to Seattle for a player to be named later, or Cash.
Cash
Visiting that
consideration.
again. So this surprised me. The Twins traded shortstop Jorge Polanco to Seattle for Anthony DeSclafani, who I guess Seattle got like after the season, so he didn't even pitch for Seattle. And then some other minor leaguers, but Polanco has had 2 healthy seasons in his career. All-star one year, hit 20 some odd home runs, drove in like 98. Another year he hit like 30 some odd home runs. So if he's healthy, he's a good piece. But like last year, he played 80 games, he had 14 home runs, drove in like 50 some odd runs. So half a season he produced. But gosh, I hope he can stay on the field.
Seattle's real desperate for some bats. They got all those arms and maybe like two really strong bats in their lineup. So he'll get if he's healthy, he'll get some playing time and be right in the middle of that lineup. But that's a gamble right there.
Yeah, yeah. And the Twins obviously have a whole pitching staff, being the Cardinals stole their ace.
Well, Manata, he left too. They've lost a couple of their top pitchers
Yeah,
too. So they got some
yeah.
replacing to do.
Thank God they're in the Central American.
Yeah, that's right. We all got a chance.
So, Justin Turner, he signed today with the Blue Jays.
Oh,
So
Chapman's not coming back then,
what's
right?
that?
Chapman, he hasn't signed with anybody. I guess he's not coming back.
Well, Turner barely played any third base last year. He's 40 years old
Oh,
now.
he's a
He was
DH now.
DH first baseman mostly. I think he played less than 10
Okay.
games third. So
Okay.
yeah, there was some rumblings. Do Cubs want to pick him up for third base? No, no. His third base days are over. So that's kind of the transactions, and I like the stuff that's happening, and it's taking people off the board. So I get a clearer vision of who's left, because in the muck, I had forgotten Clayton Kershaw is still out there.
Still
Like,
out there.
come on, man.
He might
Pitch
be
for the Cubs.
he might be fired up too if he doesn't go back with the Dodgers and
Oh,
show them
yeah.
what they missed. That could be big. Well, you didn't mention if you want to start Cubby news, the Cubs had a transaction in particular you might want to
All right,
talk
let's
about.
go ahead and do Cubby news. We signed right-handed pitcher veteran Hector Neris, 1 year, 9 million with an option for the second year. And I was talking last week about our closing situation. Alzolay closed last year. I have nothing against him. It's just that I see him more as an eighth inning guy, and I like to see someone who can come in there and really throw some nasty stuff. And I was talking about Luke Little, who, of all of our relief arms, he's got the nastiest stuff. Now, is he a closer? We don't know. I mean, he's got like 7 big league innings under his belt. So, but he's got like 12 strikeouts with that. So we did get another hard thrower, a late inning guy. So now we've got, I'm starting to get excited about the bullpen, because we've got Neris, we have Alzolay, we have Luke Little, who I'm very high on. Merriweather, who had a heck of a year last year out of the pen for us. Uh, Leiter, who last year was really good until I think he just got tired at the end of August.
I think so too.
And not only did we sign Hector Neris, but we invited Carl Edwards Jr. to camp.
Oh,
And I
he's coming
thought
back.
Carl Edwards Jr. was probably 37, 38. He's only 32.
Wow,
He
big time.
was a vital part of our 2016 team that won the World Series. In fact, he started that 10th inning to close the game. He got the first two outs, and I don't remember how the two guys got on, if they walked or gave up a hit. I think gave up a hit, maybe a walk. And then we brought in Mike Montgomery, and Mike Montgomery actually closed that seventh game of the World Series. You know how
Wow.
many saves Mike Montgomery had for the Cubs in 2016?
No, one,
Zero
zero.
until the
Oh,
World
no, the
Series.
World Series.
Oh,
I'll be darned.
but anyway, I'm excited about the bullpen. I'm happy about the starting rotation. I still want to see someone to come in here and be that middle guy in the rotation. Um, Kershaw, maybe that
Could
middle
be.
guy in the rotation. Montgomery's still out there. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't want Snell. And then there's always the rumors, that Cleveland's just an open market, but I guess they're asking prices pretty high. So,
I heard there's another Japanese pitcher who threw a perfect game and almost had a second perfect game, but they took him out in the eighth inning. So he almost had back-to-back perfect games. And I think there's talk of him. He's young, real young guy. But maybe it's next year he's coming. But I think he's going to be coming as a free agent here very soon as well. So I don't know. And a little, I remember when Mariano Rivera was, they thought this guy might have the stuff. His first year, he was the eighth inning guy, and John Wetland was the closer. So maybe Little will be like that, the closer in training with the eighth or seventh inning spot. So man, your bullpen looks fantastic. Kind of getting scary over there in Cubland for us.
well, and what's really exciting is that I hate to crap on the guy because I loved him as a player and I love him as a person, but there were some questionable things with Ross as far as handling the bullpen, and that is what Council does is
Yeah.
handles pitching staffs and bullpen. Um, and I mean, he's making the playoffs with the Brewer team that, some years had almost no offense. And there he was right there. Last bit of Cub news. That's really only for the real nerdy Cub people. Um, the Cubs have someone's announced or it's got out or something. Owen Casey, who's one of our top prospects who played in Double A, big kid, a ton of power. We got him in the Yu Darvish deal. Um, he will be playing AAA this year. He played for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, hit a home run in the World Baseball Classic. Um, he's been a corner outfielder, and they're going to be working him out at first base. So I like what we have as far as trading for Michael Bush from the Dodgers, who's going to be our first baseman this year. Um, Mervis is still in the picture. Now Casey's in the picture as the first baseman. So we're developing some options. And of course, if we sign Bellinger, and I was talking to JJ before, it looks from all the rumors, we're the only team that's really interested in him. So if we do sign Bellinger, he can play center or first. So that's that's awesome. Excuse me. Uh JJ, what's going on in Cardinal news?
Well, we're getting down to the nitty gritty right before spring training starts. Cardinals did make a couple of moves. One, we signed a guy named Josh James. He was in the Houston Astro organization uh, to a minor league contract. He's 30 years old. He's appeared in 87 games for the Astros out of their bullpen from 2018 to 2021. He's coming off an injury, but a lot of these guys, pitchers, the way they throw today, almost what, half the leagues had Tommy John surgery at one time or another. So we're going to give him a chance. We're inviting a lot of people to spring training, a lot of jobs up for grabs, and we'll see the front end of that bullpen. We got a lot of young guys that may be starters one day. But anyway, he's going to be on the team, and he had a flexor tendon surgery last year, so he's coming off that surgery. And we have anyway, well, he's on the team. And then just today, the Cardinals DFA'd Moises Gomez off. He was a guy that was fantastic power in the minor leagues. Sometime he was one time he split the minor league player of the year as far as in the Cardinal organization with Jordan Walker one year. Had a ton of home runs, but just the problem was the guy just struck out way too much. And as he advanced through the minor leagues, it just got striking out more and more and more. Batting average kept going down. He got a chance to make the team last year and just struck out too much in a short time. Just in a few at bats, he didn't hit much and he struck out too much. And he, I hate to say this, but he didn't have much defense at all. And with the advancement of Luken Baker and Alec Burleson, there just wasn't a place for him anymore. So they DFA'd him and picked up a first baseman outfielder from the Pirates, Alfonso Rivas. So he'll be coming in, and we'll see what he can do.
Well, I can tell you what he can do because he was a part of the Cubs in 2022.
Yeah.
We gave them a lot of playing time, playing first, playing the outfield. He was overwhelmed.
Okay.
Then he went to Pittsburgh last year, and he actually started first base when Max and I went to that game in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And did not have much of a season. And then he finished the year with San Diego last year. So he's bounced around a bit. The Dodgers picked him up over the winter, and that's technically who the Cardinals claimed him from the Dodgers, even though he never played for the Dodgers.
Oh.
Potential, could be a good bench guy. He can play some outfield. He can play some first. He can DH for you. He just hasn't put it together yet. But the potential is there. And I think the Cardinals are looking at this like, okay, we're gonna cut bait with Gomez because the strikeouts are just not going to fix themselves. Rivas has some major league experience. He's a good guy to have on the bench for, he's an older guy for, a young guy. He's an old guy for young. He's not 22. He's in his late 20s.
Okay.
So he'd be a good guy to have on the bench. And I don't have anything, he hustled. He was engaged. He put in the work. It just wasn't clicking for him with the Cubs, and it didn't seem to be clicking with him with the other teams last year. So I hope he goes to the Cardinals and figures it out a bit because I like the guy. Heck of a nice guy. So.
And that's where we're really got a stockpile of players: the outfield, first base, and DH. And like I said, with Baker and Alec Burleson now, I don't know, but there's injuries during the year, and it's always good to have a bunch of guys you can call up to come in and play. So we'll see what happens there. Also, there's I heard that Joe Buck would like to come in and do a broadcast or two with Chip Caray, kind of reuniting the sons and the grandson of the old combination of Harry Caray and Jack Buck. I think that would be great.
That would be cool.
That would be pretty darn cool. And Joe Buck said he's open to that. He would like to do that because Joe, at one time, for folks that didn't know, he was on the team with Mike Shannon and Jack Buck. And I read 16 years, but I didn't remember it being that long. But before he went to the network and started doing all the football games and all the other sports, he was with the Cardinals. So that'd be great. I would like to see that. Bob Uecker. Who doesn't like Bob Uecker? Bob Uecker is an old Cardinal. and he had a nice career. He always makes fun of himself and downplays himself, but he wasn't that bad of a player. Didn't put up big monster stats or nothing. He was a world champion, but he just celebrated his 90th birthday, January 26th. He was born in 1934. And, besides being a Cardinal and a baseball player, he was an actor. He did TV, he did movies, and he is the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. So happy belated birthday, Bob Uecker. Love Bob Uecker. I went to Milwaukee last year. When you go out to the concession area or the bathrooms, they got you can hear him calling the game up there. And he's like what Harry Carey was to Chicago and Jack Buck was to St. Louis up there in Milwaukee. I tell you what, spring training. I was going to talk about spring training because we're just about 2.5 weeks away. Vince, I know, I'm excited too. I don't know if you heard about this though. They're going to have special games on March 14th through March 17th. And these games are going to be the top prospects. So say the Cardinals and Cubs, we're in Florida and you guys are in Arizona, but if we played each other, it would be your top 20, 25 prospects versus our top 20, 25 prospects in a double hitter. They would play the prospect game and then the regular game. I think that's great. The Cardinals have we got two prospect games, the 14th and the 17th. I got it written down here, but my handwriting is so bad. Cardinals will be playing the Florida Marlins, where we share the same facility down there. But it'd be great to see our top guys versus their top guys. And they're really it's going to be really good for the fans because they're going to be real accessible, signing autographs. They're really going to feature them and talk them up. And I know people are excited about some of the top people in their minors. The Cubs game will be against the White Sox. So that's going to be a lot of fun down there. And then the Cardinals 2 days later will play the Astros and also do the prospect game, that game. But everybody's talking about the Baltimore Orioles are going to play the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Baltimore's got the number 1 prospect in Jackson Holiday. And the Pirates have the number 3 prospect. And I've got so many notes in here, I can't see his name in my notes. But, his name is Paul Skeens, and he's a pitcher for Pittsburgh. So he's the number 3 prospect. So
future Yankee.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, the minor league team of the Yankees, or at least that's where they get their pitchers from. That is true. Man, Vince, you're on a roll tonight. Look out. Oh, yeah. And this day in baseball, I was going to do some this day in baseball. This is kind of a weird one. With the way we can communicate today, things are completely different. But 1919, on this date, the Cincinnati Reds hire a new manager named Pat Moran. Now, the interesting thing about this was they tried to get a hold of their current manager, Christy Matheson, Hall of Famer, but he was in the Army. He got drafted and he was in France, and they couldn't get a hold of him, so they didn't know what to do, so they hired another manager. Pat Moran got to take over. How about that? And there's 2 birthdays. I always try to do a Cub birthday and a Cardinal birthday. The first one is the Cub birthday. This player, to me, I know him more as a manager, but Davey Johnson was born in Orlando, Florida. He's 81 years old today, and he played for 4 teams. He played for the Orioles, the Braves, that's where I kind of knew him, the Phillies, and the Cubs, and he finished his career with the Cubs. But one of the big highlights was he hit 43 home runs in 1973 for the Atlanta Braves, and that's where I kind of knew him from. But mostly I remember him from coaching the dreaded New York Mets in it was Whitey Ball versus Davey Johnson and those stinking Mets. So anyway.
The year that Johnson hit all those home runs, that was an anomaly. He never hit anywhere near that.
That is true.
But they had moved the fences in to help Aaron in his home run quest. And Johnson really benefited from that.
That makes perfect sense right there. Yeah. But I remember that 43 home runs. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I
And
remember when I was a kid, I'd get his baseball card. I'd look at it, very, very pedestrian. Then 1 year, 43 home runs.
good Lord. Yes. And the Cardinal, I did not know this player, to be honest with you. Born in 1925. He's no longer with us. His name was Brooks Lawrence. Um, he was from Springfield, Missouri. He passed in 2000. He was a right-handed pitcher, and he played with the Cardinals and the Reds. And his totals at the end of his career was 69 and 62. So that's it for this day in baseball. But Vince, I do have some statistics here, and it's kind of interesting. We've been talking about complete games and pitchers not going as long in the game. Last year was the shortest average start per starting pitcher. It's the first time starters didn't go 5 innings. The average game, the starter didn't go 5 innings.
Wow.
So I was thinking, because Ted Simmons was the one I heard an interview with say that, because he thinks the average pitchers shouldn't be making these big contracts. It should be the bullpen guys, because that's where the games are fought and won is with the bullpens, which the Cubs have a fantastic bullpen right now, it looks like. So, but I was thinking about, what do you think about quality starts? And they consider quality starts 6 innings with 3 runs or less, because even if you do pitch 6 innings and give up 3 runs, your team is still technically in the ball game. You leave in the 6th, and in that worst, it's 3-0, and your team still has a chance to win. There's a stat last year. The Cardinals had this horrible year. We were 71 and 91, but in games that we had a quality start, the Cardinals were 34 and 19. And we all know the stat where the Cardinals blew 28 save opportunities. So they were ahead late in the game and blew 28 games. And I always think, if they had just won half of those games, we would have been right there with the other guys, But so quality starts. I will say this: the team that had the most quality starts last year was the Minnesota Twins. They had 76 quality starts. Of course, they've lost a lot of their starters now. And I'll just read off some of the top ones, and the Cubs are in the top ones. Padres 75 quality starts, the Seattle Mariners 74, and the Cubs had 71. So that was the top 4 quality start teams. All teams very competitive last year, and their starting pitching was very good. The Cardinals were 27th. We only had 48 quality starts. And the reason I bring this up is we have these new pitchers. People say they're old. What are the Cardinals doing? We bring in all this experience. But last year, Lance Lynn had 17. Kyle Gibson had 19. And Sonny Gray had 18. And last year, if you put Waino, Libator, Woodford, Dakota Hudson, and there was one more guy in here, I can't read his name, but all 5 of those guys only had 16 quality starts combined. So each year things can happen. It can go different, but a quality start. Vince, what do you think about that? Just if you could just expect 6 innings, get 3 starts, save your bullpen, and maybe, if that, I think that might be a strategy instead of complete games anymore, but a quality start.
Yeah, and I think the drop in quality starts is because there's so many managers who just will not let a lot of their pitchers hit that third time through the lineup. They just won't. Was it Blake Snell in the World Series a few years ago was throwing a
Oh,
gem, and
yes.
they took him out,
They
and
took him out.
it, it's just the way the modern game is. But I guess if I was managing or pitching coach, that'd be my deal. Try to give us 6 innings, keep the
6
runs
innings.
down. Uh, so yeah, the day of the complete game, as much as I would like to see it, and I think it could be done with the right pitcher if he's got the talent and has been paced, taught how to pace himself. I still think there's great value in having a pitcher complete 5, 6, 7 games a year. But that's just not the pitching philosophy anymore. The philosophy is go out there, give it all you got till you run out of gas. And if that's the 4th inning, thank you. But I kind of agree with Simmons, why are we paying these starters all this money unless you're a guy like Garrett Cole
Right.
or
Your
uh
guy Steele, that pitcher you guys have Steele, he seems like he's going strong in the fifth and sixth inning still.
yeah. Other than that, pay the bullpens because that's where the games. He's right. That's where the games are won and lost for the most part.
Oh, yeah. I have the top 10 uh quality start pitchers in the history of the game. This is kind of interesting to see because you always know wins, Cy Young, strikeouts, Nolan Ryan, but quality starts, guys that kept their teams in the games. You're going to hear a lot of Hall of Fame names in here. The pitcher with the most quality starts in the history of the game is Don Sutton. I like Don Sutton. I wouldn't have thought Don Sutton, but he
Mm,
had 483 quality starts in his career and had 282 wins and 98 losses. He did play for some good teams too. He was on the Dodgers, and they always were pretty good. He played for some other teams too. I know the Brewers. He was on there, but the Brewers were good when he went over there. The second most quality starts is Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young. He just struck everybody out and put fear in every batter that ever come up against him. But he had 481 uh, quality starts. Greg Maddux, third all time in quality starts. Fourth is Roger Clemens with 465. Fifth is Tom Seaver with 454. Gaylord Perry, 453. Steve Carlton, 447. And Vince, I think of that. Maddox as a Cub and Carlton as a Cardinal, and that was two guys both teams should have kept. If we
yeah.
could have just kept them. Oh, but those Maddox years with the Cubs were fantastic. Of course, he was one of the all-time greats. And Steve Carlton, I still can't believe we let him go for a few dollars, a couple $1,000. The Cardinals got into it with him. Oh, Phil Niekro, 442. Tom Glavine, 436. So the Maddox and Glavine, no wonder those Braves teams are so tough to beat. They were always putting up quality starts. And the final one was Tommy John, the 10th best, most quality starts with 431. So anyway, I was just going to talk about quality starts, and that's a big part of the game. And if you can get quality starts, your team's always got a chance because last year our pitching just fell apart and it bled into our bullpen, and we just didn't have competitive games. A lot of times we just didn't even put quality competitive games. So this year maybe things will be different. If we just have some pitching, I think our offense is just good enough. We can be competitive. That's what I'm looking for this year.
You know who always has a quality start?
Every single time, Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor, yes. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. We have a special guest today. We have Brent Kohlenberger. Brent and I have known each other for, golly, almost 30 years now.
Yeah. Hard to believe.
Yeah, especially being I'm 28 years old. That's what's really hard to believe.
Yeah. Well, you're looking great.
I feel terrible. I'm 57 now. I feel every bit of 77.
Oh, something just froze over there.
Yeah. So anyway, what we do when we have a guest, the first thing we ask is tell us how you became a baseball fan and what team you root for.
Well, grown up in this area, so Cardinal fan, although I guess that didn't find its way to you,
No.
even though you were from the area as well. But yeah, I mean, I just I had a knack, baseball, part of my family. I think my grandfather actually helped start the Marissa Corey League, founded. So rich baseball history in the family. Yeah, just that was my sport that I was best at. So just kind of naturally came into me, I guess, through family. But yeah, Cardinal fan in this area.
And before we get into what we're going to talk about, vintage baseball, 2 words, baseball.
Correct.
We'll get into that. You were a very good athlete in high school. You played baseball and you were a pitcher. And you I guess, blew your arm out at a very young age.
That's correct. I guess it was during my junior, or at the end of my junior season. Long story, but basically I had a broken finger. Pushed, came into the season halfway through, was trying to kind of catch up and trying to overthrow the ball and screwed up my shoulder. So yeah, kind of destroyed what was once a promising potential, we'll say. You never know where you're going to end up.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, you play vintage baseball for the Belleville Stags.
That's
Go
correct.
Stags.
All right.
Tell us what vintage baseball, 2 words, baseball is.
Well, okay, so think war reenactors. You're familiar with war reenactors who show up somewhere and then they kind of teach people what it was like in the Revolutionary War or something like that. Well, we kind of do it. We're teaching people what baseball was like when it was formulated, because everything has to start somewhere. And baseball didn't just happen the way it is now. Over time, it's very organic, and they added rules along the way. But when we, in the years that we represent, which is the 1860 time frame, there were no gloves, so we all play with bare hands, and that was kind of a unique sort of in it. A friend of mine and a coworker of his, they were going to formulate this thing. They had talked about getting a team together and had seen something about it. And he asked me if I'd be interested. And I was just kind of figuring, well, I'll humor him a little bit here, and I told him, sure, I'm in. Honestly, never really thought it would get underway, and then all of a sudden he said, hey, it's we're ready to go. And I remember kind of thinking, oh crap, I'm gonna break a finger. I showed up, and one thing I realized right away, with no disrespect to my teammates whatsoever, is a lot of those guys didn't play at the level that I played at, and every single one of us was past our prime for sure. And I thought, wow, who's gonna play third base, because they're gonna hit some rockets down there, and we're gonna have guys trying to field barehanded. And I just felt like, well, I don't really want to do this, but play third base, and that's kind of been my spot. And right now it's saying it was saying my internet was unstable, so hopefully you're still getting me here. But that's kind of how I came into it. I showed up and thought, I better play third base, because I'm not sure anybody else can play the hot corner here. It's no small task to field balls barehanded.
Describe the ball, because it's not the baseball that we're using today.
I'm really disappointed, because the first year we got some fielding award and they gave me a baseball with some writing on it, and I can't find the doggone thing. I'm not sure where I put it, but I was going to show it to you. But it's basically it's maybe just a little bit bigger than a modern ball. The stitching on it is not raised like a modern ball. If it was, it'd cut your hand up, when you're fielding it. So that's one good thing about that box. It's kind of every bit as hard as a modern ball. Now it'll soften up if you beat it up a while, but generally we play with a new ball right out of the box in a lot of these games that we play. So it's not a whole lot different than a modern ball. You just kind of figure out how to catch barehanded. I don't know really how to describe it, but I do find that if you're catching it in the fingertip, you don't want to catch it on the fingertips, but if you're using your fingers as a web, to have a tough time, because the trajectory of the ball makes a big difference if you're trying to catch it on the fly. A really high one coming down, that's hits your hand, it'll bounce out of there, just because you've got a lot of force coming down with gravity and all. We've got one outfielder. He does a real good job. He'll take with one of his hands and form a cup like this, and then use the other one to just kind of wrap it around the ball as it comes in. Not everybody does that, but he's pretty good at that. But everybody kind of has their own style that works. In 60 that I can explain to you that are different from the modern game. That it's kind of like learning a new card game. When you first start out, you're always thinking like, okay, what am I allowed to do here? Running the bases is tough because if you catch the ball on one hop, one bound, it's an out.
Oh.
But if you're running the bases, and the ball hits the ground, you can advance. But if he catches on the fly, you have to return to the bag. He could technically double you. Really tough, especially if there's a kind of soft line drive to an infielder, and you're thinking, oh, should I go? Should I stay? And then the ball, he lets it bounce, and you think, I've got to run. He catches it on one hop. Well, the hitter is immediately out, or the striker is what they call the hitter. The striker is immediately out because he caught it on one bound. Well, you can technically return to the bag that you were just at, but your instincts, because of the modern rules, tell you I got to go.
Yeah.
And it becomes a tag play at that time. So they still have to tag you out then. If it's 2 bounds, then the force is in play. But if it's 1 bound, they have to tag. So it's really strange like that. You're always thinking, when you first start out, like, what do I do? It's frustrating. Now it's second nature, but when I first started, I was a mess.
And go ahead, JJ.
I went on your website, the Belleville Stags, go Stags.
Huzzah!
Yes. Oh. And I loved it. And I love, first of all, the vintage uniforms, the vintage, there was a man with a top hat and a vest. I'm not sure. Was he the manager? Is that who that was?
I don't remember whose picture's on there, to be honest.
Well, you had some black and white team pictures like the old days. Love that.
Yeah.
And but one thing I noticed, I didn't see a home run wall or marker.
Generally, we play on all grass fields because you have to think back. You're talking Civil War era formative years. They're just finding a pitch of grass to play on. They haven't lined it, done or made dirt. They might wear out some paths eventually, but really it's just played on grass. And as a vintage baseball player, you appreciate that grass because when somebody hits a hot shot at you, you'll be surprised at how much sting that grass will take out of the ball. What I don't like is when we play at fields that are modern fields where there's dirt. That ball really moves on those, and it's a lot harder to grab that line drive on the ground when somebody hits a hot shot. Yeah, but it's all usually just a grass field. Generally no fences. Might have one, but with the exception, I think one time we played at the where the Grizzlies play in Sojay, Illinois. We played in their stadium. Of course, there was a wall there. None of us could reach it, but it was there.
Now the pitcher throws underhand. The object is not to strike out; it's to let the striker hit the ball.
Exactly. I think back in those days, they encouraged them to basically put it where the striker wants it. Now I say try and put it right here, but there is an element of competition. It's not fierce. It's more camaraderie, gentlemanly play. I've got a good story about the gentlemanly play too, by the way, so I'll have to get back to that. But yeah, they generally just lay it in there. They don't put the loft like in slow pitch softball. There isn't that big arc that you see the pitcher do. They're really they lay it in there more than anything. Pace, not like a fast pitch softball pitcher, but just sling it a little bit more. So there's not everybody pitches the same, but it is underhanded for sure. Makes it a lot easier for those of us who are just trying to play out our years and have fun. But that's how they did it. So, it's not, we're not changing anything. That was the way it was.
I looked
Yeah.
at your schedule, and I see you're going to play at Busch Stadium this year. Is that correct? You're going to play at Busch Stadium, and I was just wondering how many teams are in
Busch
your.
Stadium, I don't know about that one.
Oh, really? I thought I seen
I
Busch Stadium on the schedule. Well, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. We played quite a bit under the arch.
Oh, okay, that field.
And that's a lot of fun playing there. You get a lot of foot traffic coming by, because it is our quest to teach people about the formative years of baseball, and so they catch on to a lot of the lingo. They hear us yelling "huzzah" a lot, and you'll hear the striker is out on the mound. You'll hear a lot of that. There's an arbiter, not an umpire. The umpire is the arbiter, and he's mainly there just to call fair ball or foul ball. If there's something that can't be agreed upon by the fielder and runner, they might appeal to the arbiter to ask him what his call is. So the arbiter is more of a figurehead of respect, but there's no balls and strikes that are called. And a strike, incidentally, a foul ball, a weak foul ball, is not a strike. Only a swing and a miss is considered a strike. So you can stand up there and foul the ball off quite a bit, and you'll never get an actual strike unless you whiff and don't hit anything. So that's an interesting aspect of the game as well.
Pretty cool.
But yeah, the catcher is called the behind. So
JJ, you were behind when you were growing up.
I was perfect for that.
I'm another kind of behind. Foul ticks the ball. The behind, who plays a little bit behind where a modern catcher would play, he can catch that ball on one bound and record a put out, or actually put out in vintage baseball is called a hand. So you'll hear an arbiter yelling, 2 hands, and that's the equivalent of 2 outs in the modern game. Okay. So the lingo is, you see it trying to figure out what's going on. You can overrun first base, but you're eligible to be tagged out if you do.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you see everybody's trying to stick the bag, so they slow down a little bit before they get to the bag, which helps the fielder who's trying to throw to a barehanded first baseman who, so he's trying to secure the ball. So that kind of helps the fielders out a little bit, knowing that guy has to stick the bag, and if he doesn't, you can tag him out.
Now,
I've played for a really long time. Lots of pulled hamstrings can occur that way.
Oh yeah, I bet so.
Because you're stopping so suddenly. Yeah.
Now, is this like a tight league, or is it mostly just independent doing exhibition type things?
Now, okay, so it depends really on the region. So Tennessee, I think the state of Tennessee has their own association, might be a little more structured with some leagues and stuff. In our region, it's more of a conglomeration. You don't have any together with the various teams from the cities that have teams. Probably go in Illinois, we go as far south as Murfreesboro. And some of these teams over time have finally splintered. It's just hard to maintain a team, especially in a smaller locale like Murfreesboro. But they're hanging in there. Belleville has one obviously. Springfield and Decatur, they merged their team, so they have one. And they actually play by the rules of 1850. You have to go in and find out what the house rules are at the particular place that you're playing. Vermilion County in Illinois, near Danville, they've got a team. St. Louis, they've got a team at Lafayette Square and Lafayette Park. There's a team, St. Louis Brown Stockings, from out in Kirkwood. So I'm trying to remember where everybody's at, but yeah, so we find a way to play, and sometimes we'll take a road trip. We got to play on the Field of Dreams up in in Iowa. That was fun. That was an interesting. But yeah, Field of Dreams was neat. The only nuance to the Field of Dreams that I remember being a little bit odd, when they made the movie, they moved the power lines that went over the field. They rerouted them so they could make the movie, but they put them back when the movie was done. So there's these power lines that go right over the field at the Field of Dreams. So I'm standing there ready to catch a pop-up at third, and then all of a sudden they will record a hand on that because the power line got in the way.
It's like playing at Tropicana Field.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that field might have been better than the Tropicana.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Is there any I saw some of the name, the Squirrely Nine. I saw that name.
Okay, so that's the team that I referenced in Springfield. So Decatur, their team was the Rock Springs Ground Squirrels, and then Springfield was a team we call them the Squirrely Nine because they merged teams. So that's how that name came about.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't realize we're named after. There was a professional minor league team in Belleville that was owned by the owner's last name was Griezedick. He was part of the beer enterprise, and so they were the Belleville Griezedick Stags, and they were there in Offenburg dealership down there near the South Beltline in Belleville, and where that Offenburg dealership was where somewhere there was where the field sat. It's not there anymore, but so we named the Stags after, in homage to that professional team that once played in back in like 1947 to 49 or something like that, or 49 to 51, somewhere around there. But so that's why we're the Belleville Stags. Try and get a little history.
Now, I was going to ask you, how many years have you been playing now?
Oh man, it's got to be around a decade, I think. I can't remember exact. I feel like it was probably, I don't know if we celebrated 10 years last season, but it's been about, it's got to be about a decade now. Which is part of the reason why it's hard to around. At the time we started, maybe our kids, we didn't either didn't have kids or they were just really young. Well, now they're tearing us away on some of those weekends when we're playing ball, and so you have to try and find new people to come in, and it's hard. You don't want to get really young guys. The reason is young guys, they're too competitive, they're too fiery. They have a hard time backing it down to the gentlemanly aspect, the camaraderie that exists in the vintage game, and they forget that's really kind of why it's always the young guys that are the ones blowing up. It's never the old timers.
Well,
but
looking at some of the pictures, there's some guys that look like they're getting up there pretty good.
Yeah. We've got a guy on our team. He's over 70.
All right.
And and there was a guy, may he rest in peace, a guy who looked just like his nickname. We all have nicknames, by the way. I'm Stir Fry, so you're calling me Brent, but my name is Stir Fry for this. But this guy's nickname was Uncle Jesse because he looked just like Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard. He looked just like him. Yeah, and he was phenomenal. He would road trip. He came and played with us under the arch, and he played with us. We went to French Lick, Indiana, that has real great historic hotel there, and we played it. That's actually the Cubs, I believe, Vince. I believe they had their spring training there, as did the Cardinals at one time. So various way back would host spring training for some of these clubs, and so we get to play there, and a lot of people come to that, go to that hotel and watch us play. And Uncle Jesse was one of the guys who came and played with us there. And his health took a turn, and I don't remember even what happened, but he recently passed away. That was a real bummer in our vintage baseball community. He was from down in Tennessee. He was a great guy. Yeah. So it's a shame when you see stories like that, but some of these guys, there's one guy I know who I wasn't at the game or killed, and it's sad, but then you kind of go, well, he did doing it what he loved, I mean, he went out doing what he loved. So there's a salvific aspect to baseball, to the game of baseball, just playing it. You really do, even at an old age, you feel all the aches and pains, but there's just something in the blood, when you play it, that makes you feel like you're alive,
Yeah.
So we all do enjoy doing it. And we won't be able to do it forever, I'm realizing it's fun.
I was noticing your hat and your jersey, and
Yes.
where do you do you have a seamstress that make? Oh, I love it. Is that bad in the bone or what? I love that. Who is there a place that you can go buy these uniforms? Do you have a
there is a manufacturer of these things, so I don't know who it is. I know the uniforms are pretty expensive. So, and you get kind of a bulk discount. So whenever we order, if like new players come on the team and purchases a uniform, we try and kind of, get 6 to 10 at a time or something, because it's a little cheaper that way.
They look comfortable, but they look like they're cotton. And in the summertime, that's probably pretty hot, isn't it?
These aren't too bad. They look more authentic than they actually are.
Okay.
They're not wool, but yeah, they breathe okay.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, we've had some days. I remember playing. Yeah, you do what you can to survive. You bring a lot of water, that's for sure. A lot of water. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was going to go ahead and finish. Tell your story. You were going to.
What's that?
You were going to.
I was just going to say that you can get all kinds of conditions, because we'll generally start up early April a lot of the time, and then play all through October. Now we don't play as many dates as we once did, just because it's gotten hard throughout the season. So yeah, you can find all kinds of different weather to play in. We've played in rain. Got to be a little careful, because holding on to the bats, those wooden bats with slippery hands. You're not, because nobody wears batting gloves. You try and be as authentic as you can. They didn't use batting gloves back then, so harder to hold on to the equipment sometimes.
Yeah. Before we go, where can people find information on the Stags?
Well, I think that website was www.bstags.com. STAGS, just one G in there. bstags.com. And I think we have a Facebook. We have a Facebook site. You probably looked at it more than I have, Vince.
Okay. Yeah, I follow it. So
but baseball on Facebook, you're probably going to find some mention, some site that, there's different ones. I used to reference them a little more when I was trying to learn the game, because sometimes I'd have a question, and you don't want to kick me out just yet. I got a couple of stories for it. So sometimes something crosses your mind. And I remember the first season when I was playing, I was saying, well, the infield fly rule, like, when did that come about? And so I researched it, and I was like, well, it's like in the 1890s. I'm like, well, where exists that rule? So I was waiting all season for this to happen. I thought, if a guy pops one up to me with first and second, I'm letting that sucker drop, and I'm going to get the double play. And I mean, I've been waiting all season. We're in the last day of our games, and it happens. And while that ball is in the air, I'd even told everybody on my team, like, hey, just be ready for this, because the infield fly wasn't around. So the ball's in the air, and I'm playing it cool and everything. I don't want to tip off what I'm about to do, and the ball's coming down, and I just kind of lay it down, like I catch it, but I don't catch it. I just lay it down so it doesn't bound away. And as soon as it was obvious that I was purposely letting the ball hit the ground, because I wanted to go step on third and then throw to second for a double play. And I mean, as soon as I let that ball lay on the ground, the entire bench on the other team, they jump up and they point and go, That's ungentlemanly. And I'm yelling, I thought I was being smart. but I learned the gentlemanly aspect of the game is I guess you don't just because you can, but I guess that was the competitor in me coming out. And the other thing I mentioned before was the nicknames. So we can't get out of here without me telling you how I got my nickname.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
the first game we were ever going to play as a club was under the arch, and again, we're all trying to like learn the rules and things like that. So that was a tough place to be on display when we really didn't know what we were doing. But I couldn't make it to the first game because my wife had signed us up for cooking class down at the Missouri Botanical Gardens. And so I was able to make it to game 2, but I had to go to that Chinese cooking class. So I show up at the second game. I get there, and our coach says, "Oh, here comes egg roll." And I said, "We didn't make egg rolls. We made stir fry." And he says, "Stir fry." And that was how the nickname was born. So up till that point, I was just going to be Coley. But it never took. Before I got to game 1, I was stir fry. So
Stir fry.
Stir fry's a lot better.
I like it.
Good nickname.
So, and everybody, a lot of people, even your own teammates, if you don't see them a lot, they just know me as stir fry. They don't even, some of them don't know my real name. So, yeah. But we're always, if any of you guys ever want to find a uniform and come join us, we love to. That's another thing is it's not just a matter of watching. Some people just want to play, and they say, I think I could do that. I've had friends who say, "Oh no, I can't do that. I'm too old." I'm like, you haven't seen us. We're 80 feet bases. They're still a long way, so don't go crazy, But once people realize that this is all in good fun and it's just a good way to go out and play the game, some people really take a liking to it and actually play the game. And those who don't want to play, sometimes they just enjoy watching and learning the formative rules that existed back in the 1860s. And a lot of that, I think the Civil War probably helped spread baseball. A lot of people forget that. I don't know that anybody ever truly said, "Oh well, these soldiers got together and probably taught other soldiers." And bottom line is, it spread and it kept evolving, and the rules kept getting tweaked a little bit, and then guys started wearing gloves, and so it's just been, sometimes we have played a couple of games where some old time kind of leather gloves, and so you say, okay, we're playing by the rules of, I can't remember what year that is, but in that time they were throwing overhand, but you didn't have a catcher who had a catcher's mitt, so it's not like the pitcher could bust one in on real fast because his catcher had to make the catch. So interesting game, hitting an overhand pitch, but it was more junk than it was fastballs because they couldn't throw very hard. So yeah, you just kind of picked up different nuances of how the rules evolved over time, and it's been real educational for me. I never even considered it until I started playing this version of baseball, and now I enjoy kind of educating people on that stuff. There's a whole lingo that goes with this stuff. I mean, if you see the word huzzah anywhere, it's like, oh, we just say that all the time because that was, of course, what you said. And so we introduce ourselves before the games and after the games, and then everybody, we give 3 huzzahs for the other team. Hip hip huzzah, hip hip huzzah. Do all that. So it's kind of a show. Anyone who wants to come out and see a vintage baseball show, come on out. We'll treat you well.
The schedule is on the website. We do need to wrap this up. But Brent, thank you for coming on. Very interesting.
Stir fry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, stir fry. That's going to be your name from now on. So, but thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're back. Okay. You froze up for a minute. So, but anyway, thank you for coming on, and I will see you down the road.
Yeah. And if you ever need to do a part 2, if you think of something that you forgot, just let me know, and I'll be on time next time.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
See you guys. Nice talking.
All right. Thank you, Brent, for coming on. Great job. He's talking about, if you want to come out and watch, there's people who want to play. I don't know if I want to play. I would like to be the arbiter. That sounds like a very
You would be a good
dignified.
Yeah, you would be good at that.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. I I understand playing third base as a hot corner and stuff like that. And I understand that, the pitcher is throwing kind of underhanded, so it's not that hard. The catcher can catch the ball. Um, what would scare the heck out of me is to be a third baseman because you're gonna want to whip that ball fast to the first baseman to get a runner out, and you're barehanded. So I wish I would have thought about asking him that at the time, but when he got off here, I thought, man, how'd you like to be the first baseman? No, thank you.
Maybe bounce him over there. Let him hit that grass and let him be a goalie over there.
You know what I'm excited about, JJ?
Baseball cards?
Yes, and I have another one of these minor league deals.
Ooh,
The ghost package.
I
should turn off my green screen if I'm not going to use it, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I like it. 2023 Series 1 with the Seattle Mariner center fielder on the front.
Is he any good?
Yeah, I wish we had him. Yes, he's very good. Yeah, if they put you on the video game or the pack of baseball cards, they're counting on you. You want to go first, Vince?
Yeah, let's see if any of these guys made anything of themselves.
All right.
We have Cedar Rapids pitcher Steve McCarthy. I don't know him.
Oh, looks good in the uniform though. Squared away.
I don't know who this guy is, but I love his name. Outfielder for Pittsfield, Chris Butterfield.
Chris Butterfield.
I like that name.
Yeah. Stir fry.
Williamsport pitcher Keith Helton, excuse me. Don't know him.
Todd's brother?
Let's say that. Elizabethton first baseman Steve Dunn. He's finished. All right. From St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey.
Playing for New Britain. Third baseman Scott Cooper.
Yes, Scott Cooper. Got him from the Red Sox.
Is he ever at any of those card signing shows?
No, not I've never seen him there.
If you ever see him there, let me know, and I'll give you this card, and you can have him sign it, because I bet he'd be thrilled to sign his minor league.
Oh yeah, I'm a member of the Hall of Fame, Cardinal Hall of Fame, and they have every Saturday game they have a signing. They haven't put the list out yet, but I'll check it out and get back to you.
Cool. From Canton Akron, first baseman Troy Neal. Don't know him. Oh, I don't know who this guy is, but I love his first name. From Winter Haven, first baseman Vincent, some Italian guy. Yeah, whatever. Elizabethton pitcher Tom Needon.
Pure? Did they leave the pure
off? Pure on that.
All right.
From Gastonia, pitcher Jim Hvizda.
It looks like on that card he's trying to pronounce his own name.
And from Bluefield, we have infielder Manny Alexander. So,
yeah.
Scott Cooper. Very happy to get this one.
Yeah, very good. I'll keep an eye out for him. Speaking of baseball card shows, this Sunday, Revis Barracks, they're having a signing, and our buddy Phil Brooks will be there with all of his stuff. But they got two football players. One of the football players played for the Packers, and now he plays for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So he'll be there. And Grant Winstrom?
Grant Winstrom, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be there. And the three baseball players, I can remember two of them right now. Glenn Hubbard, the old Atlanta Brave player, and Wally Backman. And so both of them are going to be there. And I can't remember the third players who's going to be there, but both of those players are going to be there this weekend. And so come on up. It'll be a good time. First of all, I got two cards. I was looking through my collection. I'm going to show. Upper Deck was a set of cards that would come out. I don't know how many years they were around, but I've got the 1989 very coveted King Griffey Jr. 1989 rookie card right there. Look at that. And also the 1990 Upper Deck King Griffey Jr. So there's the kid, as they called him in Seattle. Early King Griffey Upper Deck. Upper Deck was known for their photography, great photography, quality of their cards. So anyway, that's King Griffey Jr. Little side note, I was in Seattle in the Navy, and when he would come up to bat his first year, MC Hammer had a song, "You Can't Touch This." And when he would come up, his walk-up song was, "I Can Hit This." They would play that. They would play, "I Can Hit This." That's pretty cool. Well, here's my cards. San Francisco Giant, now a Yankee, Carlos Rondon. I know a lot of Cardinal fans wanted us to get him. Great pitcher, but last year he was hurt quite a bit of the year. So that's him. Boy, Coran, last name Coran. I don't know this guy. He's a Texas Ranger. I can't say his name, but that's a good picture right there. One of the young Baltimore Oriole players. They've got a whole stack of young superstar players. Ryan Mountcastle right there.
Yeah, this is a good one.
They're gonna be tough. Jeter Downs. Do not know this guy. Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, he named after Derek Jeter, and I think I saw on the waiver wire or the transaction wire that he was DFA'd.
Oh, okay. They always put a star of the MLB and Julio Rodriguez, who's also on the front of the baseball card.
There you go.
Taking a swing.
Nice.
Michael Givens from the New York Mets, the Metropolitans right there. I also have Gavin Sheets from the South Side.
Yeah.
The White Sox right there. Manuel Margot, Tampa Bay. Right there.
Yeah.
Let's see a team card right here. The Detroit Tigers. It'll be weird watching them this year without Cabrera. There he is on the front of the team card.
Boy, when we played them, they impressed me. I could see them winning that Central.
It's gonna be fun. It'd be good to see Detroit good again.
Yeah.
They had a couple down years, and they've got a bunch of young kids too.
Yeah, make them forget about the football team after they
yes.
I know one Detroit Tigers fan, or Detroit Lions fan, our mutual friend Tom Brown. And as that second half unfolded, I thought, I know what Tom Brown's going through because I went through that with the 2003 Cubs. I went through that with the 84 Cubs. I've been through meltdowns. I know what he's going through, but
yeah, I parked right behind him Monday night, and he had the lion emblem on his trunk right there. Cleveland Guardians. I almost said Indians again. Cleveland Guardians doing some celebrating there.
There we go.
The Cardinal team card. There we are. One of our 71 wins last year, right there. Let's see. This is RBI leaders. Now remember, this is the 2023 card, so it's the statistics from 2022. But the three people on it are Alonso, Lindor, and Goldschmidt, the top RBI guys in the National League that year. I like those kind of cards where they have all the players.
Oh, I always loved getting those and looking at this, the top 10 RBI guys or the top 10 stolen base guys. Those were cool.
Well, Tony Pruno, a friend of the show, has those big old frames with all the league leaders all the way back. So that's pretty cool. And my final card is usually it's a New York Met Mark Cannon. Cannon right there, a sideways card. So anyway, that's my pack right there for this week.
All righty. Well, JJ, I hope you have a good week.
You too, sir.
I hope we have as much action going on with the trades and signings.
We got the Boris 4 still out there.
Yep, and spring training is right around the corner.
Oh,
so
yeah, good times.
Good times. And want to congratulate the Chiefs for going to the Super Bowl again. See, I do want to say this. Whenever the St. Louis football Cardinals were in town, I was a football Cardinals fan.
Me too.
The year that they moved to Arizona, I moved to Kansas City. And so I've been a Chiefs fan since 1988. So it's very chic. Everybody's Chiefs fans now. But for people who've been Chiefs fans for a long time, to have this incredible run going to our fourth Super Bowl in what, 5 or 6 years, it's just incredible. So I did not think we were going to go to the Super Bowl this year. Suddenly we're there. So God bless Taylor Swift and all of our Swifties for helping us out there. So anyway, JJ, you have a good one, and I will see you next week. Okay.
See you next week.
All right.